What's going on, baseball fans? How you doing? So the winter meetings wrapped up last week, and it got me to thinking, what were the best winter meetings deals of all time? Let's go talk about it. Before I get to my actual list, I want to go over some honorable mentions. First up, I have Alex Rodriguez signing with the Texas Rangers. At the time, it was the biggest free agent signing in the history of the game, and he had a few really good seasons with the Texas Rangers, winning an MVP in 2003 before being traded to the Yankees, one of the most blockbuster trades of all time. We had James Shields and Wade Davis getting traded to the Royals. Wade Davis ended up helping the Royals win a World Series in 2015. He was phenomenal in that bullpen. You had Robinson Cano signing with the Seattle Mariners. He had a few really good seasons with the Mariners, ended up getting busted for PEDs down the road during that contract. And we also had Dansby Swanson getting traded to the Atlanta Braves in the deal that saw Shelby Miller going back to the Diamondbacks. For the Diamondbacks, it was a really bad trade, but for the Atlanta Braves, they ended up getting their starting shortstop, and he helped them win a World Series in 2021. Now let's get to the actual list. At number 10, I have Jon Lester signing with the Chicago Cubs. I absolutely loved Jon Lester with the Red Sox, helping them win a World Series in 2007 and 2013, overcame cancer during that time. Jon Lester was one of my favorite players of all time. I was very sad when he got traded to the Oakland A's, and then he ended up signing with the Chicago Cubs in the next offseason. Theo Epstein had recently taken over the Chicago Cubs a couple of years prior, put them through a great rebuild, turning that franchise around completely, and Jon Lester ended up being a huge part of that team that won the World Series in 2016, their first championship in 108 years. Jon Lester, well, the numbers weren't amazing during this time. He had a good couple of years in 2015, 2016, but then he slowly started to decline in the last couple of years of that deal. But Jon Lester, the big one is obviously helping the Cubs end their championship drought. At number 9, I have Johan Santana getting traded to the Minnesota Twins. Funny story about Johan Santana. He was actually a part of the Rule 5 draft in 1999. He got selected by the Florida Marlins from the Houston Astros, but the Marlins and the Twins had a prearranged deal where they were going to swap picks. So going back to the Marlins was Jared Camp. Ended up not really materializing into anything. But Johan Santana, boy oh boy, did he have quite the run with the Minnesota Twins, winning a couple of Cy Youngs, winning the pitching triple crown. My goodness, he was absolutely phenomenal during these years with the Minnesota Twins. My goodness, ended up going to the Mets later on in his career. Had a really good season in 2008. But man, oh man, Johan Santana, that run that he had in the mid-2000s, the mid to late 2000s, absolutely amazing. And hey, you know, being a Rule 5 selection, probably one of the easily one of the best Rule 5 selections of all time. At number 8, I have the Red Sox trading for Chris Sale. The trade was Chris Sale for a package of 4 prospects. Most notably, you had Yoan Moncada and you had Michael Kopech. Now, Chris Sale, who knows what we're going to get from Chris Sale this year? This story is not yet complete, but Chris Sale definitely made an impact in his first few seasons with the Red Sox. Starting off with 2017, had over 300 strikeouts that year. That guy was absolutely phenomenal in 2017. But 2018, very good that year. Ended up striking out Manny Machado to win the World Series for the Red Sox. But since then, it's been a lot of ups and downs for Chris Sale. A lot of injuries since then, but obviously helping win the World Series in 2018, absolutely phenomenal. Now, Yoan Moncada and Michael Kopech, on the other hand, Moncada's had a couple of good seasons for the White Sox, but Moncada, he's only 27 years old. There's still a lot left with Moncada, and Kopech as well, only 26 years old. I definitely think these two guys can have really good seasons this upcoming season, but this definitely was one of the biggest trades of all time during the winter meetings. At number 7, I have the Blue Jays trading for Roberto Alomar and Joe Carter. Here was the deal back in 1990. Alomar and Carter going to the Blue Jays for Fred McGriff and Tony Fernandez. Alomar and Carter ended up being huge pieces for the Blue Jays en route to their 1992 and 1993 World Series championships. Let's start off with Alomar, a Hall of Famer, 12-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion with the Blue Jays, 10-time Gold Glover, 4-time Silver Slugger, and an ALCS MVP, All-Star Game MVP as well. He was really solid in his 5 seasons for the Blue Jays. Looking at the numbers during this time, hit .307 with a .382 on base, a .451 slugging. Alomar, one of the best players of all time. And then we have Joe Carter. My goodness, Joe Carter hitting the walk-off home run in 1993 to win the World Series. He was really solid for the Blue Jays during his, how many seasons? Wow, my goodness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons overall with the Blue Jays. Finished top 5 in MVP voting in 91 and 92. A very solid player for the Toronto Blue Jays. And then for the Padres, you know, you got a pretty big name in Fred McGriff. You also got Tony Fernandez as well. Those two guys ended up spending 2 seasons with the Padres. But for the Padres, they missed out on the playoffs in 1991 as well as 1992. 2 third-place finishes during that time. So I think looking back at this deal, I definitely think the Blue Jays ended up winning it. But what a deal this was. At number 6, I have the Yankees signing CC Sabathia. This was one of the 3 big signings for the Yankees that offseason, where they also signed Mark Teixeira and AJ Burnett. But CC Sabathia was the big ticket, helping win the World Series in 2009. He was absolutely huge for the Yankees in his career. 11 seasons overall, a record of 134 and 88 over 300 games started, had an ERA of 3.81, a FIP of 3.92, 8 strikeouts per 9, under 3 walks per 9, a home run per 9. Really solid in his career with the Yankees, but obviously the big one was 2009. That's why they brought him there. They wanted the big ticket. He actually almost went to the West Coast. He wanted to go play for the Dodgers. He was wanting to go play out west, but the Yankees said, absolutely not. We need you here in New York. Ended up paying off. At number 5, I have the Red Sox signing Manny Ramirez. Let's get back to the Red Sox. And Manny, being Manny, was born in 2001, signing after the 2000 season, the same offseason where Alex Rodriguez signed his historic deal with the Texas Rangers. But Manny Ramirez, despite all of just the ups and downs, I mean, many funny moments, but many down times as well, requesting trades, shoving security guards, Manny Ramirez ended up being huge for the Red Sox. 8 seasons overall, helping win the World Series in 2004, breaking the curse of the Bambino, was the World Series MVP that year, helping win the World Series again in 2007. During his time with the Red Sox, absolutely phenomenal. 8 seasons overall, hit .312 with a .411 on base, a .588 slugging, 274 home runs, hitting his 500th career home run with the Red Sox. And like I said, sure, there were some down times, but there were many great moments with Manny Ramirez. I'll always love Manny being Manny. At number 4, I have the 3-team trade involving the Arizona Diamondbacks, Detroit Tigers, and the New York Yankees. There are a lot of players here. Let's break this down. Going to the Tigers, we had Max Scherzer, Austin Jackson, and Phil Koch. For the Diamondbacks, we had Ian Kennedy and Edwin Jackson. And for the Yankees, they ended up getting Curtis Granderson. Looking back at this deal, it ended up being a pretty good deal for all 3 teams, which you don't see very often in 3-team trades. But I would say the Tigers ended up winning this deal. Let's go take a look here. Scherzer, he was not the Max Scherzer that we know of today. Still a very young pitcher in the game, but ended up being really good for the Tigers, helped them get to the World Series in 2012, almost got back in 2013. He was really solid for the Tigers during those years. Austin Jackson was really good in 2012, was pretty good in 2011 and 2013 as well. Had a 5.1 Fangraph WAR in 2012, really solid. Phil Koch was a big piece for the bullpen for the Tigers, and for the Diamondbacks, you ended up getting Ian Kennedy. He was really good in 2011, pretty good in 2012. Edwin Jackson ended up getting traded to the White Sox halfway through the season. And then for the Yankees, you got Curtis Granderson. Look at the season that he had in 2011. He had a 6.9 Fangraph WAR. He was absolutely phenomenal that year. Hit .262, a .364 on base, a .552 slugging, a .146 WRC plus, a 7.9 base running. He had 41 homers, 119 RBIs, 25 stolen bases. That next year, he had 43 homers and over 100 RBIs again. Really good player for the Yankees, a fan favorite. But again, looking back at this deal, all 3 teams benefited from it. The Tigers, I think, ended up winning this deal, but it's pretty rare when all 3 teams end up benefiting from a deal. At number 3, I have the Detroit Tigers trading for Miguel Cabrera. Miguel Cabrera was one of the best young players at the time, but the Marlins, they could not afford this guy. Ended up shipping him off to the Detroit Tigers with Dontrelle Willis. The Marlins ended up getting back a couple of the top prospects in the game, Cameron Maybin and Andrew Miller, but they ended up not materializing into anything for them. Andrew Miller had a lot of success later on in his career as a reliever. Cameron Maybin had some okay success, but nothing amazing by any means. But Miguel Cabrera, on the other hand, this guy had a lot of success with the Tigers. My goodness, he was in the All-Star game from 2010 to 2016, won back-to-back MVPs, had the Triple Crown in 2012. Absolutely phenomenal. Miguel Cabrera, I think, will end up being in the Hall of Fame, but this guy has just been absolutely phenomenal in his career. Now, the last few years, he has been on the decline, will be retiring after the 2023 season, but what he did for the Tigers, ended up getting to a couple of World Series, couldn't quite get the job done, ended up getting struck out to end the World Series against the San Francisco Giants. But man, Miguel Cabrera, these numbers that he's put up in his career, phenomenal. At number 2, I have the Atlanta Braves signing Greg Maddux. Besides Pedro Martinez, Greg Maddux, one of my favorite pitchers of all time. Amazing. Greg Maddux, always loved what he brought to the table. More of a control guy, had really good stuff. Oh, I just love Greg Maddux, man. Hall of Famer, easily a Hall of Famer. 4-time Cy Young Award winner. He had just come off a Cy Young season with the Chicago Cubs in 1992. Ended up signing with the Atlanta Braves at the winter meetings after that season. Ended up winning a few more Cy Youngs back to back to back. No big deal by any means. But this guy was phenomenal for the Atlanta Braves. Over 11 years, he won almost 200 games. Went 194 and 88, had a 2.63 ERA, a 2.95 FIP. Absolutely love Greg Maddux. Man, this isn't just one of the best winter meeting signings of all time. This is one of the best free agent signings of all time. And at number 1, I have the San Francisco Giants signing Barry Bonds. They signed Barry Bonds at the 1992 winter meetings. And what else is there to say? You know, PEDs, whatever you want to say. This guy had, in my opinion, is the best player of all time. The numbers that he put up with the San Francisco Giants, amazing seasons with the Pirates, but with the Giants, he won 4 straight MVPs. I mean, I will still come back to this page every once in a while and just look at these video game numbers. I mean, look at the 582 on-base percentage in 2002. That is absolutely fun. Look at the OPS at 1.381. I don't care, whatever you want to say, you know, PEDs or whatever. That is just insane. The 73 home runs in 2001. These numbers are just absolutely insane. But what a signing for the San Francisco Giants. Ended up not winning the World Series in the end. They made it in 2002. They got that close, but couldn't close the deal. But in the end, Barry Bonds, in my opinion, the greatest player of all time. He ended up signing a couple of more extensions along the way to finish his career with the Giants. But in my opinion, this was the best winter meeting signing of all time. So that's my list. Tell me what you think down below. Did I leave any off the list? Should I put some guys higher, lower? Let me know what you think. But that's all I have for right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.